Welcome back. Last time we covered methods and the this keyword in objects, allowing us to make objects more functional. Today we are diving into classes, a core concept in TypeScript for creating reusable blueprints for objects. In TypeScript, a class is like a blueprint for creating objects with predefined properties and methods. This helps us maintain consistency when we need to create multiple objects with similar structures. If you've ever heard of object-oriented programming, classes are a big part of it. All right, let's start by creating a basic class. I already made it, and it's called person. Now, person has two properties, name and age. Name is a string, age is a number. We also have a constructor, which is where the name and age will be set. So whenever we make the object, we need to give it name and age because they are required. They are required here and they are required in the constructor. So here, whenever you construct or make an object, we have to pass in name and age. Now that we have our person class, let's create a person and use the introduce method. So how do you create a person? You create a person by making a variable called person1, or person, whatever you want to call it. We've called it person1. And then you have the new keyword. Now you're saying, I'm going to use the person blueprint to make a new person object. Now, the person object has a name, which it requires, because it's required here in the constructor, which is Alice, and an age, which is also required because it's required in the constructor, which is 30. All right. Now it also has a method because we can encapsulate methods into objects or classes. We can call an introduce, which will print out this statement right here. So let's call introduce, right? I have to change real quick to this directory. All right. And we compile index.ts and then we run it with the index.js. And now we'll say, hi, my name is Alice and I'm 30 years old. Now, how did it work? Well, we've created a new person. And then we said to that person, hey, I'm going to call your introduce method because it's here. See, it's in the brackets of person, so it belongs to a person. Now here it says introduce, and it did that. It introduced and called this line here, the console log line. Now that's how it works. Classes can have more than one method. They can have multiple, as many as you want, and they can also have as many properties as you want, required or not required. So let's add another function that is celebrate birthday. All right, and we say this .h++, and then console log. We use this one, happy birthday. Oh, that one terribly wrong. Happy birthday. And then we use this.name, and the this also refers to this object. If we make a new instance of a person, so we create an object of the blueprint person, we have this, which will refer to the name just like it did in our objects in the last video. You are now this.age years old. And now we can call a new, we're going to make a new person. We can also call them person1, but just let us create a new person here. Person called Bob, and Bob is 25. And then we say Bob. Let's call him Bob, and then Bob.celebrate birthday. And then we do the same thing again, and we compile it, and then we run it. And there you go. Happy birthday, Bob. You are now 26 years old. Now, what I did here with celebrate birthday is we did ++, so it increments. We put in 25, and the ++ actually increments the 25 to 26. So that's why it says 26. Now, when we call celebrate birthday, it updates the age. Now, we can add many more methods, but this is basically it for classes. Classes are just blueprints for objects, like I've shown you in here. we have an object, right? And this is an object literal. Now, if you have a class, you can just say, oh, we have a name and age. Whenever you make a new instance, because it just makes an object, right? It just makes a JavaScript object from this class. And then we add in all our properties and we encapsulate all of these methods that belong to that person, to a person. If you have a dog, a method could be bark, because dogs bark. It's behavior. You put the behavior into a class and group it in something that's logical for that class. All right. Classes in TypeScript use encapsulation, which means they keep data safe and controlled. We can use access modifiers like public, private, and protected to control access to properties and methods. All right. There's another example for that, which is here. Now we have created a class called bank account. It has a public known account holder, but a private balance. We can access it through methods like deposit and get balance, keeping the data secure and only accessible in controlled ways so people don't mess it up. Other programmers will mess up, or you yourself will mess up, because sometimes other programmers is actually you when you look at git blame. Let's compile it. tsc bankaccounts.ts, and then we run bankaccounts.js. So there is an initial amount of money, right? We have account holder, John Doe, and we have a balance, which is 500 when we create a new object. We deposit $100 in there, and then we get the balance, and it says 600. Now, just to be clear, what has happened here? We have created an initial object from the blueprint or the class bank account. Now, what it does is says, hey, my balance is now the balance that I received. So basically here, because for some people this can be really confusing, we have John Doe, we put that here. So it says, hey, this dot account holder is the account holder that I got from here. And the balance, the 500, is the balance that I got from here. Then we have two public methods. These are accessible for everyone that has an instance of my account. And we have a private balance, right? So we don't want people to actually have direct access to balance. We only want them to have access to balance through methods, because then we can control what happens to balance. If they have direct access to balance, they might just say, well, we change balance to 1 million, and then they have $1 million. But if we use methods, we have control over whatever happens to that balance property. Then coming back to my account, so we deposit 100 euros. So you go to an ATM, you deposit, and a deposit method might be called on that object, right? Now, this is the amount that will be deposited. And this is what I mean with we have more control over what happens, because we are not updating balance directly. We are updating it through a method. And the method actually says we add the amount to the balance, and then we console log the amount and the current balance. So we deposited $100 and the new balance is actually 600. So that's how it works. That's how we keep our private stuff private, and we have more secure access to our own variables or properties, so other people don't mess with it, or we ourselves don't mess with it. We have control over what happens to it through publicly exposed methods. Now we also have get balance here, and get balance basically says the balance for this account holder, so the name that we provided, which is John Doe, equals balance. So here it says balance for John Doe is 600. And that's how it basically works. Let's go to the exercises. Try creating your own class. Make a book class with title, author, and year published properties. Add a describe method to print out the book's details. I'll give you a second to pause and then we go over the answers. All right, so we have title, author, year published, and then we have title, author, year published in the constructor as well. So it will set those properties onto the object. And then we have the describe method, which actually uses all of those to print a description of the book. Now that is it for classes. Today, we introduced classes, a powerful tool in TypeScript for creating reusable blueprints for objects. We covered constructors, methods, and access modifiers, which make our code more organized and secure. In our next episode, we will explore inheritance, another core concept in object-oriented programming. Thanks for joining and see you next time. Be sure to subscribe and click the bell button for new notifications on new videos. Have a great day and happy programming.